good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're watching us from. We are back in the studio. We have been doing almost all the shows from our remote areas, home, and in different places. But we're now back in the studio, and thank you for always watching Uganda at Crossroads. Thank you for always being part of the Campfire TV family all around the world. We appreciate what you do. My name is David Lubuurwa, and I welcome you once again here on Uganda at Crossroads. We discuss issues that are happening in Uganda, especially every week, and sometimes major stories that happen throughout the month. In most cases, also, we also come up with stories that are inside what one may term as inside stories or headlines that many people don't know about. In other words, breaking news. So we thank you so much for always watching our shows, and we always come here, discuss with different political analysts, smart minds that see or think about the future of Uganda. We would like to go to all around Africa, but most importantly, we want to focus on Uganda to see, because right now we're heading into 2021. So that's very important. Tonight, I'm joined by the team of great analysts. They have their beliefs in different political parties or movements or unions, organizations. But most importantly, they have that key aspect that we need to analyze the key issues that happen in Uganda. Recently, we saw the unveiling of the new political party. We termed that as a baby, not because it was registered today. It was registered way back, 16 years back. But we call it a new baby because it has been embraced by a new group or new individuals. That's NUP for Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi. We also know what President Museveni said during the COVID-19 speech he made. But most importantly, he's also now been almost declared as a solo candidate for NRM party. But let's get started. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me. Richard, it's been a long time since we last met. We've always been doing things online. Nudin, same story. We've been doing stuff online, and people have been appreciating the discussions that we have been having. So I want to thank you for taking your time to come back in the studio. This is our new studio. I guess a number of things have changed since we last met from the previous building we were in. But let's get started. Richard, how was your week?
My week was very interesting. The first thing I saw this week was this lady that had been mocking Honorable Kyagulanyi. This is Betty Kamya, the traitor of our people and the struggle for the country. And the second thing was Kahinda Otafire, the way he's reacting at the move that People Power took or the National Unity Platform took, and says now they are not going to hand over power. The third thing that I was watching was I was watching the speech of the president of Uganda, the way he has done the lockdown in the coronavirus. And in one of the speeches that he made himself, I was so sure, I heard it again and again, and said that the lakes in Uganda are going to be producing the interior of this fish. I don't know how they call it, that makes the fish float, the noni. 156 billion US dollars a year. And now you look at the poverty in the country.
Yeah.
And then I said, now we're on the right, because that was part of the People Power policy.
So in other words, you're agreeing that the president is now acting in the interest of Ugandans. Richard, I want to thank you so much. Nudin, how was your week? Did we see anything new or same story, business as usual?
Thank you very much, David. It's a pleasure being on this platform once again, and particularly in the studio, as it had taken long without being in here. Actually, the first thing that really fascinated me was the issue of the coffee bill that was being tried in the Parliament of Uganda. Then there is an issue of NUP, the new political platform. These are really very interesting stories, and I think they have moved around Ugandan politics. Hopefully we shall discuss more about it.
All right, sure. So I want to thank you, guys. There is a question that people have been asking me, David, why do you only bring gentlemen, only men, no women? Yeah, Sarah Joy was supposed to join us today, but there was an emergency that came up, so she's not part of us. But next Saturday, the team is going to be back, and we're going to be breaking things the way they're supposed to be. So today, it's going to be a men's day. So guys, I want to thank you again. Last year, or the last 2, 3, 4 years, Uganda has been looking at where do we have to go, what do we have to do, and how do we have to do it. And the story that has been happening now, we saw the rise of Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi. He changed the political platform of the country, whether anybody believes it or not. He's a man who never believed in political parties. He strongly said that political parties divide us. And as we speak today, maybe there is that sense of understanding how important political parties are. And I'm driving at the statement that was made by Norbert Mao in 2018 on October 26. He said, Honorable Kyagulanyi, then he said, Bobi Wine should not dismiss political parties. Let me start with Richard. Is now Norbert Mao exonerated from all that has been happening? The future has exonerated Norbert Mao that what he said in 2018 is now, 2019-18 is now happening.
Yeah, but what has Honorable Kyagulanyi done that is wrong? He has been discussing with these people and said, look, let's have one unity party. Let me stand in one party and kick this man out politically. And these people have been saying, no, if you come in my party, these are the rules, these are the rules. Remember, Honorable Kyagulanyi is a revolutionary. He's not going to leave the status quo of the country the way it is, the political economic system and everything that has been set up by Museveni of constitution and the way the country has been going for so many years. He came as a reformer. Let's come and make a new country. And these people are telling him, no, if you are working in my FDC, you are under my constitution. You will not do certain reforms unless this. He says if you go to DP, DP is compromised by the state government that is in power now today. If he goes to UPC, he says no, they are compromised. So what do you want him to do? When a chance comes out with a party like that, he says, okay, now let's come together. If you are real liberators, if you are to work together and you fear that I'm going to political maneuver you, let's go for discussions and let's make agreements that every person involved in this. I was always telling you about what happened in South Africa when they had certain issues like that. The sunset clauses. What is going to happen that 3 months after an election, there's going to be a referendum for a new constitution, for a new Uganda. Yes, and so, every person involved must be
I want to ask you the same question again. Mm-hmm. Was Norbert Mao exonerated? Mm-hmm. Has the future exonerated Norbert Mao? Was he right when he asked the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, do not dismiss political parties because they drive the economy, they drive almost everything in the political system of the country? Was he right? Yes or no?
Yes.
He was right. Yes. All right, thank you. Nudin, your opinion, because this has been going on. People, different political players have been asking Honorable Kyagulanyi, you don't have a political party, how are you going to handle the politics of the country? Now he came up with a political party. There's some people who are saying you don't have a political party are the very people who are saying it's not going to work. What's your opinion?
Thank you very much, David, and the viewers. It's very interesting that in politics, what people should know, the dynamics of society and governance. Society is not static. Society is evolving, is changing every day and then. There is no particular position that you can approach politics. Today, the policies might be the same, but the approach might differ or might go changing every day and then. Initially, Bobi Wine or Kyagulanyi was using an amorphous approach to politics. That is a situation whereby somebody does not have a particular dimension of approach. He was trying to develop his system by trying to avoid a position of approach. Because if he had a position on angle of approach, the ruling party would have a very quick way of making it and survive. Therefore, time comes that there is that amorphosis that has to come in. There must be a kind of evolution that comes in. Because if people power, or if Kyagulanyi is to take power, he cannot take power as a political activist or as a movement. He has to take power with structures. Therefore, he's now changing, trying to formalize himself, trying to organize himself so that he can have ways by which he can always have a command of what he wants. That is why you see that he comes up with a political party. That political party does not deter him to be in the activism that he has started with. Rather, it is he's trying to legalize himself. People have been asking him that, for example, if he's to bring people him as a president and other political players in other constituencies and other political positions, what is the commonality that they were having? Because one would be given, for example, a hoy, another one a chair, and different people would have different kind of symbols. Now, he's coming to have a political party. It's giving him an identity with his people. That is the first thing. Secondly, if you look at activism is all-embracing. Activism might not even have, you might not have a logo. You might not be even a politician or a leader. But you're just trying to push people to understand what they are supposed to do. That is what Kyagulanyi was doing initially. He was trying to awaken people's minds, trying to tell them, look, we are really very, very exploited. We need this, we need that. Now here comes that he wants to be a leader. He has to come in a formal way.
All right.
And thirdly, as I finish up, is that Kyagulanyi has been standing as a personal entity. He has people that he's working with that are not derived from other political parties. People like Nyanzi, people like Senyonyi, people like all those that don't have political parties, the new entrants in the politics. He did not have a way he could have all of them come and join the People Power movement. Because if it is an alliance or a movement, it is comprised of many other political parties. So if he came as himself, then what about these people that he's working with who are not political players, who don't have political parties? So bringing in NOP is a kind of approach in how they would stand as a group to negotiate a position or any position that would be taken up within the movement.
All right, sure. I want to thank you. And with that, before I leave you, Nordin, one may ask, what is the significance of NUP during, after, and before 2021? Because we are looking at many different political players, many political parties. You think FDC, DP are going to come and sit and discuss and say, hey, you're going to be the president? What's going to happen with the rest of the other political parties? Because remember, everyone who subscribes to People Power, in one way or the other, must subscribe to NUP. Where is that leaving all other political parties?
No, people get it wrong. There are two entities here. There is the other legal entity and a movement. The NUP is a subset of the People Power. So as the Basariwa's party, JEMA, is a subset. So is the DP bloc. So they are trying to position themselves to see how they make an alliance or a collision. That collision will help them to find out which people are strong. You know, in a collision, what do? They find out which areas such a party like, for example, JEMA has its strongholds. DP bloc has strongholds. People Power, NUP has strongholds. Now, they sit down and say, according to what we observe, JEMA has very much, its polling block is too much in Muslims and also in the East. Then People Power, NUP, what do you have? I have the youths. My strength is the youths. Then DP bloc, where do you have? We have our strength in the Uganda region. So all those come together. Nonetheless, NUP is standing as a surety to all these young people that do not belong to political parties.
Right.
And therefore, it will depend on how they agree in the collision. whether they use this NOPO's sign or how do you call it, symbol, the umbrella. They might all decide that they can use the symbol of the umbrella, all those who are under the People Power movement.
Sure. No, I want to thank you for that. Let me bring in you, Richard. Richard, the most important part here that I'm looking at, People Power as a movement led by Honorable Chairman, you have been talking about democracy, that the current regime of Mr. Museveni, or President Museveni, does not exercise democracy. When you introduced a new political party, there was no public declaration that we are going to elect somebody to be our president. We have seen a document that says, well, members of NUP should come and for the delegates conference where they are going to elect new leaders. But nobody knew that Honorable Chagwenyi was part of the NUP. How are you going to defend that to the public?
Okay, now let's be sincere about Honorable Chagwenyi. Let's be sincere. What situation are we in? Are we in a democracy with Museveni, or we need democracy in Uganda? Because if you see what Museveni did from 1986 when he took over power, he started moving the country to the far left by starting to bring in communism and socialism in the country. And then after he had introduced it, he started it not getting sugar unless you get it from the LOC system, not getting passport unless you have a letter from LOC all up to the way. Then he brought it and made the constitution, the 1995, under his system of government, which is socialism. The army under socialism, everything, the economic system under socialism. Now, do you want Honorable Chagwenyi to come and do the same? No. Uganda has to go back where it must belong, where the people are going to decide their own destiny, of the way the country they want, through a referendum. No one is going to be forced on the system of government.
You're talking about a referendum.
Yes.
NUP has a leadership. Honorable Robert Chagwenyi being the president of the party, Joel Sinyi being the spokesperson of the party, and the list goes on. Where is the democracy where people had to engage, where other members of NUP probably want to say many of those who were part of the people movement maybe had cards for the party. Before we know, this is what we have.
Yeah, I know the owner, the former owner of the party, Mr. Chibalama. I've known him for a long time, but I don't want to go on camera and discuss about it because it's good what he has done. Did you want the government of Uganda to come out, no, did you want Honorable Chagwenyi to come out openly and declare his intention the way the Uganda government has reacted? It has fired from the Electoral Commission. The members of the Electoral Commission now is charging them with corruption, of which he knew they were taking money. Because how couldn't they detect that someone was bringing in a party like that against him? So you wanted him to come out open and say tomorrow morning we are coming for a delegation conference and then we are electing Honorable Chagwenyi. No. The most important is the democracy that is going to come in the country altogether, not now. Because this is, first of all, an umbrella. I don't know if you know about Binaisa's umbrella that was punched in the way Binaisa lost power. Because Binaisa made the same thing, bringing every person together, and then people punched the holes and the rain went through. They used to call it Binaisa, Kitonya. And Binaisa lost power. I remember very well Binaisa.
So where do you see the fate of People Power movement?
Yeah, our job, we as Ugandans, especially the diaspora, is to make sure that Honorable Chagwenyi does not go the same way that Binaisa went. Because if you see the political players on ground, we have FDC, which is in good working condition with him. You have Mugisha Muntu, who is, instead of going for the structures of the NRM, our enemy, is coming against the structures of the FDC.
You also, People Power supporters are going against the structures of FDC, DP, and all other political parties, NRM. And here's a fact. Many of your supporters do not like anybody from NRM. I've been observing how people who are standing on a ticket of NRM have been treated. Not because they support NRM's agenda, but some of they support People Power, but because they represent NRM, they're being treated unfairly. So how are you going to defend that to Ugandan
Let's discuss about this month in Kasimiri. this Kansimine, forget about this man of Remiyaga, Sekikubo. Let's discuss about this Kamile. What happened? Why would the president go after a vomit? Because he went after a vomit. If someone is sick and goes after a vomit, that's where the medicine that is going to save him, to cure him, is. Then this person is finished. Either he's very poor, politically, or financially poor. If you see Museveni going and giving so many billions of Uganda shillings to Kansimire to bring him back, so that he wins that area, then what do you think should be done? That means there's something wrong in this thing. So people that have been coming to people power have been coming in to liberate the country from where it is. The country is in a bad shape.
All right. Nurdin, your take. People power, NUP is taking most strong leaders from these other political organizations into NUP. Where does that leave all other political parties?
It depends on the intention. You see, there is a kind of situation whereby it's society dynamics that people always look for somebody who's progressive at a particular time. You remember those times when Kizza Besigye was very strong. He could eat up all other political parties. People were joining him because they knew he was now, by then, the person that was going to drive them to what they wanted. I've been telling many friends of mine about the issue of NUP and people power. The real fact is that when you look at, people have been joining Bobby Wine not because he is in people power, because he's the one who started people power anyway. They have been joining him because of his charismatic approach to issues. He's such a kind of person that talks with you in a very humble way, but very, very intelligently, tries to read your minds, whether you are a co-discussant or you are an interviewer. He gives you a very good shot. So many people look at him as a person that they can work with, regardless of where he belongs or which group he belongs to, as long as he's in opposition. So many of these people, like the DP bloc that you see, are insisting. They know that Kyagulanyi is a strong person as an individual, whether it's in NUP or in people power. Therefore, there is no big distinction between NUP and people power. The attraction, the strength, the articulation is going to remain the same. The only thing that has come in is the legality. The legality of whoever comes up to stand, because the other time all of them that would stand in the people power would look as if they are independents. Right now, there are so many things that people don't understand in this scenario. The politics of political parties has a lot of things to understand. One, when it comes to parliament, each political party that has a member of parliament has a lot to earn from that representative. There's an amount of money that is paid at the end of the year to each political party on a numerical kind of analysis.
Right.
Yes. Therefore, NUP, these people might look at it from that angle, that all political players are going to have one symbol, such that even if they don't take power at the head, at the top of it, they'll have a strong opposition in the parliament. And this will deter the ruling party from passing bills that are irrelevant or that are not helping the people. So there are so many ways the NUP is trying to formalize the politics of Uganda. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether it eats up people from within the opposition, as long as it is bringing more numbers. Because if you look at some... Do
you think it's going to bring back the hygiene in the politics of the country going forward, or we are going to see the same politics business as usual? FDC fighting DP, DP fighting NUP, NUP fighting NRM. Isn't that what is going to happen?
According to my observation, NUP won't look so different from other political parties because all political organizations have dynamics. They have a lot of dynamics, but it depends on the management. It depends on the focus of those people. Right now, the voice of Kyagulanyi can be heard by anybody. I believe that where situations to do with sorting out people who are going to stand, Kyagulanyi as an individual is going to play a very big role because many of his supporters listen to him and have faith in him. I believe that his charismatic way of doing things, if he doesn't change anyway, would bring about sanity in the politics of Uganda. That's my position.
Can I answer something like that?
Sure.
Because we are analyzing here people that in Uganda that people don't know about politics, we are telling them what to do. There are two situations here. If you look at the political structure, because Honorable Kyagulanyi was almost going to use the political structure of FDC. What does the constitution of FDC say about a leader? Does it have power to recall a leader and put in a new one? Because remember,
there's NUP. I don't know whether you've seen the constitution of NUP, but does it have the power to call in a leader and put a new one?
I want you to understand that Honorable Kyagulanyi is a reformist. It's not going to go as a status quo of the country. Does NRM have the same structure? I'm going to give you an example, you people that are watching us tonight. Look at South Africa. South Africa, the political structure of a country, they have been able to recall two leaders, Thabo Mbeki and recently Zuma. Because Honorable Kyagulanyi said, look people, the country is going in a wrong way, that's why there's too much unemployment, there's too much killing of people, there's too much power at the hands of the government. I'm going to come as a reformist for a new country. Now we are going to use an example of American democracy. Look at American democracy. Do the party have the power to recall a president from State House? No. It's the people that elected him that have to recall through their representatives. So that's the two ways. Because in a political party like NRM, like FDC, like UPC, the party can sit and say, Honorable Kyagulanyi, you have been leading the country for 1 year. You are trying to move away the army and reform the army and bring in the army like the one of the state of Israel. You are going to change the economic system. You are going to change the political system. You can't do that. The party has to give you a go-ahead. If you disagree with the party, they call the delegates conference and you're kicked out of government, of leadership. It's what is happening in African politics. And Kyagulanyi said, no, I must have an authority, which I'm not going to use to dictate my ways to the country the way it has been. I'm going to use it to reform the country.
So let me ask you, Richard, you must have...
we agree with.
You must have some inside information, but I want to ask you this question. Are we expecting anybody to, any time to come soon for NUP or the People Power Movement to call for presidential aspirants within their organization?
Yes.
People picking nomination forms, or it's not going to happen?
Yes, it will happen. If it happens, if it doesn't happen, if it has happened already, no problem.
But okay, let me take it this way. If it doesn't happen, would it be the same as what we see in NRM solo candidate? Is that a democracy that People Power Movement and NUP are trying to promote in the country?
No, because that's where the problem is. Because Honorable Kyagulanyi never called in a delegate conference to nominate him. How do you know how he was nominated? Because all he wanted was a platform for a liberation movement, a party that's why it's an umbrella. You have to see very well, it's a unity umbrella that everyone from every other party come in and liberate the country. If Honorable Kyagulanyi can go to Jinja and Dr. Fide says that it's not going to be allowed, if he goes on a radio station and they say they are going to use certificate election, in every step he's taking, there are roadblocks that he must pass and beat to reach where he's going. So you wanted him to come out and expose what would happen. The Electoral Commission would have said, no, we are not going to allow this party to be registered. And there's something that is happening even right now, if you don't know, that they might not be allowed to pick up nomination forms. So Uganda is moving in a direction of which we don't know what will come out.
All right, sure. So, you guys, I want to thank you for opening up on that, and I'm going to take you back a little bit. But let's look at what's happening right now. most of the entertainers in Uganda are being arrested. It's kind of like the new normal nowadays that whoever probably opposes the government is being arrested. Is it just because of the 2021 general elections, or is it because of the actual things that are happening in the country? For example, there is a new trending system about that, or talk about tribalism, that leaders of this character are from this region, leaders of this character are from the other region. Now, Nudin, I want to ask you this question. Do you think this is just the normal politics that towards elections, these are the things that come up, or this is something that has been in the system for some time? And first of all, do you believe it, that there is tribalism or nepotism within the government system?
Yes, I would say yes. I would say yes. First of all, when you look at the system that we are having, as I already said, that there are a lot of things that have gone astray in the government of the political system of Uganda. One of the factors I always mention is that whenever a president stays in power for long, there are a lot of things that really go deteriorating. Much as you remember in the law of diminishing return, in the economics, there is, as you go on developing, at a certain time, there is a sloping of the reproduction of an individual. So time comes that what you add on as physical addition does not necessarily produce an additional value to what you are adding on. That is what comes up with age. When you look at the president, as I always mention, he's not the president that we had 10 years ago. In terms of age, in terms of reasoning, in terms of vigor and all that. Here comes a situation whereby there are a lot of things that are playing behind the curtain that really the president is not aware of. You can imagine the other time even was asking about what is happening in the arcades. He doesn't even know what is happening in the arcades. So given his age, given his stay in power for long, there are a lot of things that have really turned negative, totally underscores.
So yeah, taking you back, you think tribalism exists, that's what you say.
Does.
And do you think it's because of, do you agree with a narrative because of the 2021 general elections? That's why people bring up all these talks, or it's just business as usual?
There is a kind of enlightenment. There is a kind of awakeness. Initially, as I draw up a little bit back, that whenever there is a political space, what is a political space? A political space refers to a situation whereby the political organization, the ruling political organization, does not prevail over the problems of the people of the country. And the people that are trying to take on the government does not also have the capacity to give a solution to the prevailing problems. There emerges what we call a political space. And such a political space can be filled up by anybody of whatever class or strata.
So that's what we're seeing today.
Today, in 1970, that happened, whereby the people had lost hope in the government of Obote. And what happened? A man that could not be even thought of, Idi Amin, came to power. What happens presently is that people have really lost hope in the political players of the country. That's why I don't think if this situation had not happened, if we didn't have a political space, Kyagulanyi would have come to parliament. But because he had sung about it, he had talked about it, he had shared with people that were trying to fight like Besigye, then he felt like he himself would come up. The coming of Kyagulanyi has brought about a lot of other issues. He has changed the politics of Uganda.
So we're looking at the number of, I saw comedians being arrested. I'm seeing many artists being arrested. Many songs that oppose the government being stopped from being played on local radio stations, TV stations.
And when you look at all the countries that have undergone revolutions and liberation struggles, they have used music. Countries like America, you remember the Afro-American musicians, they played a very big role. If you go to South Africa, most of the music that was played was liberational. So here comes musicians have a big role to play in the struggle, in the liberation struggle of countries. Because one, they are very literal. They use literature as a means. Literature refers to that indirect kind of indirect awareness of the people of what is happening. Now, the government is in a panic. The ruling party is in a panic that whatever is mentioned, people, you know, with the recent wave of internet, you just bring something out as an individual and it is interpreted in a different way, in various ways. That's why you see that when those artists, the comedians brought up about something and people really revealed or produced a kind of video that was trying to give a very good kind of message to what they had talked about. So in this regard, when the government is not very sure of what they are doing and they are looking at it as a mock or a kind of awakening, people, they would react that way. That is what is expected of them to react. That's why they are arresting them, because they know that people are getting awakened because of what they are saying. So unless the space is covered, there's a lot of things that are going to come up, especially at a time when the youths, because now when you look at the situation this time in 2021, there is a very big participation of the youths, and the youths are very, very dangerous, especially the youths that are unemployed.
All right. So Richard, Nudi, thanks you. Richard, I want to bring you in addition to what Nudi is talking about. Today, people power is also untouchable, just like the NRM. The difference is NRM has the state machinery, has guns and police and the army. In people power, if somebody talks against people power movement, any leader in there, the public attacks that person. What is the difference?
No, there's something that you left in that is more interesting. Let's give me some 5 minutes.
I'm going to give you one.
Okay. The history of the country, the way it has been since Obote, the discrimination and pointing a finger as a scapegoat to kill the Baganda in the country. When I was a young man, I was arrested in 1980, taken to the police. I was beaten very well with me and my brother. I was a young man, but the charges that were put on us, we used to call it Bamuyunze section. These people would arrest you, take you to the police. The moment you said you were in Uganda, you were a scapegoat for the system. You had to be charged with false things so that they could put you down or lock you in prison to suppress you or get money out of you. This is the situation that we grew up until the Bush War of Yoweri Museveni started. The first bill into the country, NRC bill, was sectarianism, to get out tribalism in the country because it was too much. The war of liberation of Museveni was fought with two people, the Baganda and the Banyarwanda. This is open, people who don't know about it. Then what happened? By 1991, but no, well, give me a minute and tell it to people openly. By 1991, we started seeing it in the Uganda Revenue Authority. The recruitment only of people from the Western into the Uganda Revenue Authority. We started pointing finger to Museveni. There was military maneuver, kicking out of Baganda. He said, Abaganda, sikulangana mwendagano. So we were kicked out of the system to this day. Look at the police, look at the army, look at every person.
So your grudge no. as Baganda people is based on that?
No. Our aim, what people power is going to do, is to get this tribalism once and forever out of the country. How? The Rifalanda will have self-government, and the existing parliament, or which will be called Congress, will be divided into two. One is the lower chambers, and the other is the upper chambers. The upper chambers will have a compromise, will be compromise of two members in each areas that people come from Arua, Buganda, Nkore, Toro, so that they hold the power economically and politically and everything, so that there's no one that is superior to the other to be kicked out of the working place, so that I can go to revenue authority When this one is the Munyarwanda, he's working with me. Is the Munyarwanda is working with me.
We're seeing a number of people. If you, for example, you mentioned about Uganda and
yeah, but how many Ugandans are in the working places? They are driving border beaten every day.
We see a number of them. We see Uganda in government. We see
Banyakole
in government. We see Bachiga in government. We see Basoga in government.
People power.
Where is the complaint coming from? When we see all these other individuals, secondly, everything is...
Look at the poverty. Look at the poverty in Uganda and look at the wealth that is in the Western.
But also the Western...
Look at the poverty that is in Icholi. Look at the poverty that is in Teso. Look at the poverty that is in Arua. Is that equal opportunity? What people power is going to do? Or National Unity Platform
Richard, here,
uniform.
Here are facts. Yesterday I was in position to have a call to a number of people from Western Uganda. And they say they're also suffering the same way, just like the people who are in the central part of the country. So why are you saying that there is
no. This one is that, look at what is happening in Uganda. Museveni is always talking about my NRM people. You either have to join the NRM to eat on the national cake.
Just like,
but this one of people power or National Unity Platform, in a working place, in sharing the national cake, there will not be politics like in America.
Just like I want
to take it back. There's no politics when I go to getting employed somewhere or getting benefits from a government. In Uganda, every benefit from employment, anything, you don't belong to the ruling party, you don't get something. Is that good for the country, yes or no? These are the conflicts that we are going to solve in power.
Nudi.
Actually, thank you so much. What I observe is that what is bringing all this anger is, actually in Uganda we don't have tribalism, we have sectarianism. What we have is called sectarianism. Why? Because even people from the West are complaining the same. What is bringing all this hullabaloo? It's because of poor services. There's so many things that really bring all this. Otherwise, people will not bother about it. The biggest trouble that we have in Uganda is, 1, poor social services, 2, extrajudicial killings, 3, sectarianism, 4, let me basically look at these ones. In a situation, I don't think the youths would be very much interested, like we have today, would be very much interested in politics. Because they've been there. They've been around, they've been playing all their parts. If they are having jobs, if the education was valued and somebody goes to school and studies and then he has where to get a job, if the social services, like you see the problem, like taxes are being fairly, paid and all that stuff, I don't think the youth will be now participating in politics because many people are very much interested in the service. They're not interested in ruling. So the moment the ruling party fails or the ruling government fails to offer those services, the expected services to the people, then they have to come up and participate themselves to see what is going to happen. Therefore, the issue of sectarianism or tribalism, as people mention, is coming in because of the other behind factors. It's because if people really were having where to get jobs, nobody would have even seen that the Minister of Finance is from the West or you are, because people just get a situation, people just become particular about a situation when there's something wrong in the public. Therefore, I believe that the government has created a situation by itself. People have nothing to do. They have been pushed to the wall. That when somebody is redundant, it has a lot of things to think about. That's why you see that there's a saying that you cannot control a hungry person because that person will always push so that they can survive. There is what we call survival for life.
But there is also the current regime has tried to come up with initiatives that Ugandans have not embraced. When they introduced the agricultural projects, Ugandans did not embrace them. So who is to blame? Are we to blame the government or you're going to blame the people who are not?
The problem is the policies. The government, the president cannot do things by himself. Neither can the ministers do them. It's the policies. Like, for example, the issue of of what they are bringing in Parliament concerning about the policy on coffee. Why do you bring a policy? What do you want to make to make a government a parliamentary act about coffee? Supposing people come up for maize as well. Suppose people come up for beans. It's just the policies within the institution that are not working. If they were working, there is no need, because remember, our fathers were growing coffee, but they could not. They could not dry coffee on soil, because they knew that the moment you have a lot of black beans, the moment you have a lot of stones, your coffee is going to be devalued. So it is always the policy. Why are people of taxes complaining? Because there is no policy. You cannot, in a country like Uganda, you cannot leave the economy to play by itself. This is what we call the market structure. That is what we call liberal, what they are calling the liberal kind of economy, where the market structures are forcing the operation of the economy. That is wrong in a country like Uganda. There must be policies. These policies are the ones that guide what people are supposed to do. The moment you don't have policies on issues to do with jobs, the moment you don't have policies with issues to do with the working conditions, policies to do with every social and economic phenomenon of the society, then people are ready to rise up and try to grab power so that they can have things done by themselves.
All right, sure. No,
okay.
Yeah.
Now let's discuss about, because this is a topic that everyone needs to know, how People Power or National Unity Platform or party is going to create jobs in the country. Let's see where, first of all, things went wrong. Obote brought this problem. Uganda was never under socialism, and he made this common man's charter. I want you to get one, then we discuss what really happened in the common man's charter. The purpose of common man's charter was to start socialism in the country, which was not there, where the government and the party officials own the wealth of the country. It was not like that. Now, that's what brought the coup that was kicked out of Bote, and took out the party.
But Richard, you and I know that there is no country that operates like that, including United States. You don't just.
Let's give a working example, because all what we need now is the young people and the people of Uganda to get out of poverty and get jobs that are really outstanding with other peoples of the world. The president himself, we said it in the beginning, he said the lakes in Uganda, maybe, we don't know how much they've been collecting, because he got the wealth of the country, of the lakes, and gave it to the army and kicked out the civilians out of the fishing industry. They only get the small fish to take to the market, and the rest is sold by the soldiers. That profitable internal, we call the Nuni, is taken out by the government officials, and they get billions and billions out of export. Now, let's see, is it going to change with Museveni? No. Look at Egypt. What Egypt did was to get the army and put them in control of all the resources and manufacturing of the country, so that they retain themselves in power forever. The poverty and unemployment in Egypt to this day has persisted even to this day. So the policy is totally wrong. So what People Power is going to do, or what Honorable Chagon is going to do, is two things: state capitalism and capitalism. So we are talking about the islands now, where near the lakes. The money that is going to be generated out of these lakes are going to build factories which are going to be sold to the individuals to make money, not the army.
Right. So
the billions of money, wait till I finish, the billions of money that are going to come out, the revenues are going to build factories that are going to be owned and sold to the people of the country, not Indians, not Chinese. That's how we are going to start making money, we as Ugandans, using our own resources. The other thing of capitalism, we said that we are going to use a system, or Honorable Chagon is going to use a system, whereby Americans are going to come as co-partners into the country to help us develop using our land. That's why there's going to be a fundamental land reform.
That is, and I think everybody agrees.
Yes.
That is.
Yeah, but do you think that the way he is, that the Chinese and the Indians own the land of the country, the natives own?
The same thing you're talking about is you're fighting against foreign interference into the political and economic system of the country. You are asking for American help to come again to the same story.
You don't understand.
What is the difference?
No, the difference is this. When an American comes to me, let me give you a good example. When the outsourcing started in America in 1990, the Americans went to China. They were never given a land for free, or they never bought a land in China. They went and became co-partners with the existing landowners and factory owners to boost them for production so that the Americans would get the finished goods and bring it to a finished market in America. The same system we are going to use. The Americans never went to China to buy the land and employ the Chinese there. No. But the way Museveni is doing the things is that Indians come, Chinese come, the land is there, kick out the natives, and I'm giving you land, you are investors, create jobs. So the owner of the land today in Uganda is kicked out of his land because it has been given to a Chinese, and the Chinese comes tomorrow and builds a nice factory. Then I walk in tomorrow morning and I ask a job. Is that a good policy? That policy was done in Ethiopia. Is it good for African? Are we dogs? No, we must fight.
All right, Richard, I want to thank you for your submission. So, you brought in that economic point of it, and it's something that is very important we need to address today. In Kampala, the trading zone of the city, many of the building owners or the arcade owners were given a leeway to open up the arcades as long as they fulfilled the guidelines set by the Ministry of Health. The president, last Tuesday, made it clear that, well, a number of them can open. But we have seen some of their owners saying we're not opening up our arcades if you don't pay the values you have with us. If you don't pay the rent you had to pay the last 3-4 months back. So what message does that send to traders? I think let me bring in Nurdin. What message does that send to traders who have been thinking that now that the economy is opening up, now that border riders are free to do business, now that taxi drivers can now increase the number of passengers, private cars can go, what message does that send to traders who have been thinking about doing business in the next coming few months or forever?
Thank you so much, David, and the viewers. This brings in another issue of planning and policies again. I would always rotate my discussion on policies and planning. Why, in any society where there's a lag in planning and policies, it's likely to have a disconnection between the policymakers and policy implementers. In a situation like this, whereby the government really knew that they have locked down, these arcades and all the other, they had to make a very comprehensive analysis of the whole situation. Right from how are we going to open up? What are we going to do with the landlords and the tenants? In fact, there is even a law that was enacted in Parliament. I don't remember when. It's so recent. It was a landlord-tenant kind of bill. It is an act now.
The historical bill.
Yes. It was trying to elaborate clearly on what the landlords are supposed to do in regards to, like, if there is an area or any unpaid rent and all that. And actually, there is even a case that was analyzed concerning about somebody whose property was confiscated by a landlord, and the guy was to pay around 700 or 800 million Uganda shillings. Here is a situation when the government does not give proper guidelines on what should be, because all these would have been done before they opened. They would have called all the landlords and talked to them. And they are not talking to them in a kind of situation that what they want, but there should be a directive from the government that we are having this should be done like this, 3 months should be deducted, and all that. And on top of that, they are not supposed to even come up and say that, not until they have also organized them, they have talked to the banks, So it is a kind of chronological kind of approach that had to be done, right from the banks to the building owners or the landlords, from the landlord to the tenants and all that sort. But there's nothing that is been done, and they left the community to the market to have the solution for the problem. That cannot work. So it is the ordinary person that is now suffering. The tenants that have their property, that some of them have even been, like I heard some people were talking about those who are dealing in phones, that all their batteries are now down. They cannot be, they are totally, they can't be used. They have to buy others.
Yeah. So Richard, Nuri, before I leave you, are the landlords right to stop traders from operating in the city?
They would be right. Why? Because they are also having pressure from the banks. Again, the landlord, but because there is no clear law that is protecting the tenants, that there is no policy that the government has put across that will protect the tenants, then the problem is with the government or the policy makers. The landlords are also having the same problem because they want to pay their loans that they are servicing with the banks. But if the banks have not been instructed to relieve the landlords from possibly giving them a payment holiday, then they have no way. They also need money to pay to the banks. So it is the government's obligation to make everything clear such that it is relieving right from the landlords to the tenants, not only making themselves to handle the situation.
Richard, your take?
Yeah, this thing of the landlord, there's a problem. Because landlords are paying taxes and have mortgages, why didn't the government come up with a plan and say, okay, maybe we have cut half of the taxes that we are supposed to pay at the end of the year or that we have been remitting in every month? The second thing, where is the money that is collected in the country? Where are the donations that has been given to the country for foreign aid to the country? Because I heard that every Ugandan was supposed to get $25 per week, that the money was given them to fight. This money would have been said, how much money does this landlord owe? For them, they don't want to pay the landlord because they know that every penny they are collecting out of the country, they're just cheating the money because they know that it's their time to go now. This is the problem. Because if they knew they were governing a country and the country was under good governance and good taxation policy and the money was there, not being spent on things that don't matter, the landlord would have been compensated of the amount of money that has been lost. So, but if you tell the landlords that he has rent to pay, no, the landlord has mortgages to pay, and then for you tell him now, you just open the arcade and no one is going to pay you, now you figure out. What do you think he shall do? He's going to lose the arcade to the bank. So this is a situation that has been created by the government that is just stealing from the people because it knows its time of going now has come.
All right, sure. So before we finish, we're going to go just in a side discussion about what happened with the FDC. We showed Nabila Nagai, who wanted to stand on the ticket of FDC, being fired and said, you know what, you came in late and you've not been supportive of the organization. Now, these are political parties that have been asking the government to act in a mature way and have some hygiene. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing the same problems in almost all these other political parties. DP bloc somehow is fighting with the main DP. Mm-hmm. We saw the Segunas, they fighting against the Maos and all that. So where does this leave the political climate of the country? Isn't President Museveni going to win again? Because we are seeing contradictions between political parties that is not giving the hygiene to the rest of the country. Richard, what's your take on that?
If you look at what Watafide is saying, forget about these political parties. The fighting is there in between them. This one should be this, and this is this. For us, we are fighting to take over the government. The most important thing now is for the diaspora people. The diaspora people must be organized right now. They must have a conference of delegates. Every organization that has been registered in the diaspora must come to this conference so that the people might choose the people that are going to represent them over. Because in Uganda, there is going to be a crisis of takeover of government. Chagwan is going to beat them. We want to be sure that when the crisis happens, we are ready to move in and rescue. We shall rescue this country.
All right. Nurdin. Your take on the struggles that are going on within the different political organizations?
The FDC and other political parties have been contaminated by the one-man syndrome. Actually, when you look at what is happening in FDC, the biggest problem of FDC, I'm sorry to mention, is Dr. Besigye. Dr. Besigye has all along pretended to be very democratic, and but he has an element whereby he should be looked at as the godfather of FDC, and he wants to always dictate over what is happening within the FDC. When you hear the Nabila's story, Nabila was not originally an FDC. He was brought in by the late Chigundu, Dr. Sulaiman Chigundu, at a time when Nabila was standing for his first time as an
member of parliament,
member of parliament from another party, I don't remember. However, when you look at the whole trend right from the inception of FDC, his message has been in the middle of it, and whoever would not go with him, he would resent him, and that would be another problem. That's why you saw what Mugisha Muntu did. He had to run away because they could see that there was no progress. There was a lot of antagonism. So they are saying that they don't mind about people who are running away, but they do, because politics is about numbers, how many numbers you have in the parliament. And
right.
I'm not very sure they are going to replace all those people
sure.
in parliament. And when you look at what is happening in DP, it's the same story. Before they were saying we don't mind about these MPs, the people, DP block and all that, but now they are crying foul. They're saying, please, can you come back? And then we go to the collision when we are together, when we are a strong group. So what I'm looking at is that all these political parties are going to continue the way they are, but what is most important is that those people that matter in the opposition are going to merge and have something very presentable.
All right.
And I believe, according to my own observation and my areas, the reception of my areas, are saying that people like Chiza Besigye, Lukwago, DP Block, and NOPE, they are going to merge for one candidate.
And then they will take on President Senator. Guys, we cannot go far from there. To all our viewers, we want to thank you so much for being part of Campfire TV, Uganda at Crossroads. Always, that's who we are. We discuss issues. We sometimes disagree. I make these guys disagree. But I thank them so much because they always do what they have to do and present to us what they have to. To our viewers, we thank you. All other shows are now coming back. We noticed that some of you have not been watching them. You've not been receiving them, but the system has been improved. So pretty much starting from today or next Saturday, most of you will be in position to see all the programs that we do have. But we thank you so much. Thank you for watching Campfire TV. Thank you for watching Uganda at Crossroads. Coming up next is Love, Sex and Money with your girl, Denise. Have a good night, a nice week.